Well, welcome to Satsang. We're inside today due to the inclement weather. It's so beautiful though. It's dry, but all of the, whatever they call it, that which they put on the ground for everyone to sit on is soaking wet. So rather than make you all sit on something that's soaking wet, we thought it would be a lot better to bring everybody inside. But hopefully from tomorrow we'll be back out in the garden. This time, as I was mentioning in the Arati, is such a sacred time. And it's the time of really connecting to that power of the Divine Mother, that power of the Shakti that flows through all of us. It's not about women or men. It's about a feminine energy or a feminine principle that of course exists in men as well. So it's not about gender of a body, but it's about an energy of the universe. A beautiful energy of creation, of nourishing, of nurturing, of all of that we associate with the mother energy. And also that fierceness, that energy of Ma Durga, or Ma Kali, that really clears through us all of that we need to be free of. You know, as I was mentioning in the Arati, today is the day dedicated to Brahmacharini, that aspect of the Divine Mother. One way of looking at the 9 days is a different form of the goddess with each day. Another way of looking at it, and it's not either or, it can be both as well, is that the first 3 days are really days of the energy of Ma Durga. That energy of that fierceness that comes through us and clears us out. It's the feminine of the energy of Lord Shiva. When we speak about that energy that people say destruction, but destruction sounds so negative and so final, and it's not that. It's not, oh, here we have something beautiful, now it's destroyed. It's a disillusion of that which is old, which is no longer working, which is stale, which is needing to be removed in order for that energy of creation to come. And so Ma Durga is that feminine side, and a lot of us can think of motherly energies. Our mother, our grandmother, a teacher, older sister, an aunt, whoever it may be, a female mentor, who's got that fierceness that doesn't always feel good. It's not warm and fuzzy and touchy-feely, and you don't necessarily want to curl up and, take a nap and go to sleep. But it's the energy of really a fierce precision that cuts away from us, that frees us of ignorance, of illusion, of that which is holding us back. I think about it sometimes as the energy of a surgeon removing a tumor or clearing blocked arteries. The operation's not fun. It doesn't feel good. But it's necessary. It saves your life. And even though if you were an alien from another planet who descended into the middle of an operating theater and you saw, a surgeon with a knife in their hands, you'd think, oh my God, that person is a horrible person. That person is mean. But we know they're not mean. They've spent years and years and years and years and years in school to learn how to use that knife in such a way that it actually heals us. Yeah, there may be some recuperation time. Yes, if we weren't anesthetized, we'd be in pain. But even if the hospital told you that they ran out of anesthesia, I don't know anyone who would say, well, forget it, then leave the tumor in. Right? We'd be prepared. We might be scared, but we'd be prepared to undergo that operation anyway. Because we know, if I don't get that tumor out, I'm going to die. If my arteries don't get cleared, I'm going to die. So even if they said, oh my God, I'm so sorry, it's going to be another month before a next batch of anesthesia comes in, most of us would say, all right, but I'm scared, but do it anyway. Like, I don't want to wait a month. And I think of that energy of Ma Durga like that. That energy of the surgeon who comes in. And I give the example of the anesthesia because she doesn't always apply anesthesia. And that's why sometimes there are moments in our life where we really feel that presence of Ma Durga or Kali Ma, that fierce presence of the divine, and maybe she's clearing things away from our life that we were attached to. Just because something's not good for us doesn't mean that we're not attached to it. Talk to anyone who needs to, quit smoking or quit drinking or quit eating sugar or quit any other bad habits. They want to keep doing them, but they need to stop. It needs to be removed from their life, even though they're attached to it. And so, as she comes through with that knife, it's that energy, it's that fierce energy that removes from us ignorance and illusion, attachment, false sense of self. So many times all of that we thought is us. Gone with her surgeon's knife. So many things we thought, oh my God, this is who I am, or this is what I need. Gone with her surgeon's knife. But we know that it's done out of love. In the same way that the surgeon is there out of love. They're not there for their health, they're there for us. And so the first 3 days are seen as dedicated to that energy that just clears through us. I think about Ma Ganga sometimes like that. She's got a very compassionate, warm, nourishing, nurturing energy as well that does make you want to just curl up in her lap. But she also has this energy of that river that just washes through and literally clears everything, cleans everything, washes everything away. So you can think about it like that energy that flows through. And after those 3 days, we have days with powerful energy of Ma Lakshmi. Of course, we'll have powerful energy of Ma Lakshmi again on Diwali. But that energy of spiritual prosperity, you can say. Ma Lakshmi, we talk about her as the goddess of wealth, but I'm always really clear to confirm she's not the goddess of cash. She's not the bank teller. She's not the ATM. A lot of people sort of worship Ma Lakshmi like she was just some kind of ATM that even without a card you could just stand there and be kind of like, just give me whatever you got. Just send it on out of the slot. She's not an ATM. She's not your bank teller. She's the bestower of real wealth, real prosperity. which isn't money. And if you don't believe me, find 5, 10 super rich people. Get to know them really well or follow them surreptitiously and see whether they're happy. In the vast majority of cases, the answer is no. That wealth doesn't bring happiness. It doesn't bring peace. Science tells us the same thing. Once people are above the level of poverty, yes, not having food makes people depressed. We understand that. Not being able to send your children to school because you can't afford it makes people depressed. But beyond that, once we're above that sort of survival basis of life, once there's food on the table, there's a shelter, there's sweaters for winter, there's shoes, there's school, there's money for medical care. Once you're set in that way, there's no connection between becoming a millionaire or a billionaire and becoming 1,000,000 more times happy or 1,000,000,000 times more happy. It doesn't work like that. So Mahalakshmi is the goddess of the real wealth, the real prosperity, which is divine connection, spiritual connection. It's that which actually brings us a lasting state of joy. And then it said that the last 3 days are really powerful with the energy of Ma Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. And, it's interesting because when I heard this the first time years and years ago, I thought, that seems a little bit backwards. Like Ma Durga first, I get that. But shouldn't it be wisdom first and then we'd be happy? Then we'd have prosperity, as though somehow prosperity were the highest aspect. Wisdom kind of came along, and then we would have the real prosperity. But I've realized as the years have gone by and as my understanding has gotten deeper that actually that wisdom is the highest goal. Because from that wisdom, everything comes. But in order to have that wisdom, you need the divine connection that Mahalakshmi gives. That wealth of a connection to the divine through which real wisdom can flow. Because without that connection, all you've got is knowledge or an accumulation of facts and information. You can be very intelligent. You may have amassed a lot of facts. You may be able to assimilate them very well and give them back to the world on exams or in lectures or whatever. But you're not actually wise until that truth has become you. And so for that, first you need the spiritual connection, the divine connection. And then real wisdom as that final, highest, ripest fruit comes to you. But I also, and that's when we speak about Gyan Yoga, it's this path to the divine, to oneness, to that ultimate union. But what I also love is that Ma Saraswati is also the goddess of music. And the reason I love that is because when there is real divine connection, when there is real wisdom in our life, there's music in our life. Whether we have the ability to sing or play an instrument or not, it's totally irrelevant. But life becomes much more like a song and a dance. When we speak about Lord Krishna, one of the teachings that Pujya Swamiji gives so frequently is he says, look at all of the difficulties he went through in his life, in this human incarnation from childhood and then as he grew. Look at all of that. And yet, through it all, the song was on. First the actual song of the flute, and then just the song of his life. And so what we see is where there's that real wisdom, there's a song. And again, it's not about being able to carry a tune. It's about just a music in life as life flows. That there's a harmony with the universe, an attunement with the universe. You know, if you've ever listened to a music band, get ready. They're all talking about like attunement and syncing and harmony and this. And that's just between the different instruments. But that's what happens in life. When that wisdom is there, is that everything syncs. It becomes in harmony. You become in harmony with the world in the way that a beautiful, perfect song is in harmony. So that's just a little overview of these beautiful 9 days, and today we are on day 2, which, as I mentioned, on the banks of Ganga is the day of Brahmacharini, who's this embodiment of sadhana, spiritual practice, devotion to the divine. But if you see images of her, it's this light. She's like a ray of light shining. And it's that light that comes through our sadhana, through our devotion, through our purity. So this is that day of Goddess Brahmacharini. For the questions, we always begin, or usually begin, with a question that's come in advance from the audience that joins us from across the world on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and through these beautiful instruments that enable people sitting wherever they are to join us. So we begin with a question from them, our internet family, and then we'll open it up to any questions that any of you may have. What is the true nature of the Guru? From Deepak in Mumbai. Well, the nature of the Guru is the one who brings light, who removes darkness and brings light. That's what the word means, literally, semantically. Guru. It's the remover of darkness, meaning the darkness of our ignorance, the darkness of that false identification, attachment. Not that darkness, don't worry, we don't need the demo. The internal darkness. But it was nice, it was a perfectly timed demo. The darkness of our ignorance, our, the false self, as we say, that there's a veil that blocks us from seeing the truth, and that veil is dark. So the Guru is the one who removes that. So that with the Guru, a lot of us have the experience of feeling like we can see. Suddenly we can see. What we couldn't see, we can see. But it's not about seeing out in the world. It's about seeing the self. The light that the Guru shines is the light of us. So through the grace of the Guru, through the presence of the Guru, we are able to see the truth of who we are. The Guru is the one in whose presence you feel the light of your own self. And being able to see that, to know that, to live in that. And that's the nature of the Guru. Any questions that anyone here might have? Jai Shri Krishna. Any question? Yeah. Yes, beautiful.
We have from Spain, somebody has asked, and happy Navaratris to all. How to achieve bliss? How do we realize the difference between happiness and real bliss?
Beautiful. The difference between happiness and real bliss. Well, real bliss is actually an aspect of our true self, that capital S self, that supreme reality, who we are one with. When we say Sat Chit Anand, the Anand means bliss. Truth, consciousness, and bliss. That is the nature of the supreme reality. It's the nature of the divine, the nature of Paramatma, the highest divine, and therefore the nature of who we are. So bliss is the nature of who we are, which means it has to be self-evident and self-dependent. Anything that is dependent upon or evidenced only by that which is around me cannot therefore by definition be bliss. We say, and I'm not going to fight with people semantically. If someone wants to say I'm in bliss, no problem. I'm very happy for you, because what it means is they're very happy. But if we are looking at it very specifically, happiness versus bliss. Well, bliss or anand, and again, all of these are not exactly perfect definitions of the Sanskrit, so it may be better to actually just use the Sanskrit to speak about anand as bliss, and, kushi is happiness. So the difference between them, because then we don't have to worry about English translations. Bliss is our nature. It's something we tap into, something we touch on the inside. Bliss is not attained by something from outside, because by its nature, the outer world keeps changing. Sat Chit Anand, the supreme reality, is that which doesn't change by definition, by nature. So bliss has to be that which I'm able to touch and experience, completely independent of the situation I may be in. Which means it's not about a moment of happiness or a moment of joy or a moment of rapture or a moment of ecstasy or a moment of this or a moment of that, because those are moments that are beautiful. But they come and they peak and then they dissipate. And if we're blessed, we'll keep having more and more of those moments. But each of them is an individual moment in time. And it may last 60 seconds, it may last 60 hours, it may last 60 days, but ultimately it is a moment in time that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Whereas Anand, bliss, is an aspect of the unchanging self. No beginning, no middle, no end. And it's that which I experience only from going within, from experiencing the true nature of the self. So when we're looking for bliss, doesn't mean that you can't also enjoy external happiness. Doesn't mean thou shalt never eat chocolate ice cream and enjoy it. But it means recognize that the happiness you're going to get from that is going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The bliss doesn't. So for the bliss, that's what our spiritual practices are for. is to take us into that eternal, unchanging bliss. Happiness is just that. Nothing wrong with it. It's wonderful. We should all have it. We should have as much of it as we can. The dilemma with happiness is, in most cases, that which makes us happy is not in our control. And that's where, along with happiness, a lot of times we also have sadness and frustration and resentment. Because if we go around and I say, well, what are the things that make you happy? In a lot of the cases, it depends upon other people. When my husband or wife does this or that, when my child does this or that, when my mom or dad does this or that, when there's a beautiful sunny day, so when the weather is doing this or that, when I am on holiday in the Caribbean. Okay, so it's when the universe is lined up in such a way. The dilemma with that is people don't dance according to our tune. They don't do what we want. I don't know anybody who wakes up in the morning thinking, what can I do to make this person happy today? Deep, beautiful sadhaks, people really committed to a spiritual practice, hopefully wake up with a feeling of, what can I do to bring happiness to others today, in a very kind of general prayer to the universe. And this is, of course, across religions. I mean, it's not just something in the Vedic tradition. It's the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. It's teachings in so many different religions of essentially, oh God, let me be a beautiful instrument that brings healing and happiness and light to others. But that's very different than someone waking up and simply anticipating one individual other person's every individual desire and hope, and then living to fulfill them. People don't do that. Because everybody has their own karmic package. People are working on their own stuff. What do I need? What's going to make me happy? What's going to bring me peace? What's going to fulfill my goals? So the only downside to happiness is that in most cases it depends upon someone else, which means that a lot of times we end up frustrated, depressed, resentful, angry. In an ideal world, you'd have the inner bliss and you'd have the external happiness that was able to be there regardless of whether people were dancing according to your tune or not. But of course, that external happiness would therefore depend upon you tapping into the internal bliss as well. Because if people are not doing what you want, what do you have to be happy about? Again, you got to go in then. I think about it like an analogy of waves on the ocean. You know, that happiness that's on the superficial level is going up on the wave, but then you're going to come down. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. Waves are beautiful. But eventually you get tired of being in the waves. And if you dive deep down in the ocean, there's no waves. The stillness is there. And it's a lot more beautiful. Ask any scuba diver what life looks like under the ocean, and they'll tell you how much more exquisite it is than life on the surface. So we dive deep for bliss and enjoy with gratitude whatever happiness the universe also brings us. But we don't get attached, because we know in that attachment we're sure to end up resentful and frustrated and depressed as well. Yeah, other questions? Yes.
I speak Spanish.
No problem. Spanish is beautiful. I would normally have a Spanish translator, but unfortunately she's out sick today. But by tomorrow she'll be back, hopefully.
He translates.
Ah, wonderful, wonderful.
Primeramente, muchas gracias por sus luminosas palabras.
First of all, it's to give the thanks to your beautiful words.
Es maravilloso ser mujer, es maravilloso ser hombre.
It's beautiful to be a man or woman.
Desde este enfoque, ¿cuál es la relación más adecuada entre hombre y mujer en las diferentes etapas de la vida para hacer que juntos fluya esta Shakti, este poder, esta presencia divina?
I'd like to ask that what is the relation between the man and woman? They can together flow and reach the higher level of consciousness.
Please.
So let me just confirm the question. How can a man and a woman in relationship together attain that higher state of consciousness? Okay, beautiful. Well, first we'll start with the man and woman and then we'll expand it. When a man and a woman come together, you've got two very distinct, almost opposite in a yin-yang type of energetic way, energies. They're opposite, but they are complementary. In all of the spiritual traditions, there's so much about balance. Sun and moon. In yoga, when we talk about hatha yoga, well, hatha is sun and moon. We have sun, moon, we have yin, yang, we have all of these ways of understanding the balance of, in this case, two types of energies. Obviously, there's a lot of systems that balance many types, but as far as two types, what's important, first of all, is that they recognize that equal doesn't mean the same. A lot of times, and this isn't true only in a romantic relationship, this is true in our offices, in our companies, in our societies, in our communities, is that we're losing that beautiful and critical difference, variety, between masculine energy and feminine energy. And interestingly, though, it doesn't have to be masculine energy in a male body, feminine energy in a female body. Sometimes you may end up with different energies in different bodies. But if we look at it as far as energies and principles, it's important that we recognize both and realize how important they both are. And as we've worked for equality, we've lost some of the celebration of variety because we've created a situation in which essentially women have been told and come to believe that in order to be equal, they need to become like men. A woman can do a man's job. Well, of course she should, but why would she necessarily feel like she needed to? Variety is beautiful. We need to honor and celebrate variety while holding all of the different principles equal. But equal doesn't mean same. And so when you're talking about in relationship, if you have a man and a woman coming together in relationship and each of them is fully embodying that principle, what's going to be beautiful is for them to recognize and celebrate the difference of the energies rather than expecting each of them to be like they are. Why don't you feel like I do? Why don't you think like I do? But to recognize and celebrate the difference. It's also really important to realize that relationship is a yoga, meaning it is a path to God. And coming together is a path to God. And for people on what we call a grihastha ashram phase of life, a householder life, that is their path to God. How to see the divine in the other. We're told, worship each other as the divine. See each other as the divine. See the masculine forms of the divine in the husband. See the feminine forms of the divine in the wife. See truly, not just a physical body, but see the presence of God in each of them. And use the relationship, use every aspect of it to get closer to God. It's very easy to get stuck in nitty-gritty details. Who's going to do the dishes? Who's going to grocery shop? Who's going to take out the trash? Who did more help? Who's nicer? Who cares more about the other one? Rather than that, to recognize this relationship is an opportunity to go to God. How to take everything that comes as our sadhana. A lot of us think of our relationships over here and our spiritual practice over here. Like, yeah, I'll deal with you later. I'm doing my sadhana now. Well, what if your family members were your sadhana? What if your spouse was your sadhana? I'm not saying don't also meditate. We all should, absolutely. Have your eyes closed, seated meditation time. Have your puja time. But just don't think of it as something that is separate from relationship. That which you're experiencing in your meditation and your puja should be brought into the relationship. And to really walk together, to walk together, to walk together. It doesn't mean that you have to like the same things. It doesn't mean you have to practice things in the same way. It doesn't mean that you have to have the same values. I mean, you can be vastly different. And use that relationship to walk closer to God. Because the most important thing about connecting with God is an open heart. And there's nothing like a marriage to close down your heart. Right? I mean, there's nothing like having someone who you wanted to act a certain way, have them act a different way, and then the heart just goes like this. You were mean, you didn't do this, that was mean, and the heart just contracts. And whether we contract it for an hour or a day or a week or a year, we sulk, we slam doors, we ignore the person. And all of that is because our heart has closed down. But you can't connect with God with a closed heart. Even if you closed it at the spouse, it's still closed. And so, can you use the relationship to just keep the heart open? Keep the heart open. And I'm not saying everybody's partner is easy to live with. I know they are not. I'm not saying everyone's partner is even nice. Forget respectful and considerate. They may not even be nice. Can you still keep your heart open? Can you not allow that other person's words, actions, meanness, inconsiderateness, or just cluelessness? A lot of times we think someone's being mean when they were just clueless. It's not their fault. They weren't mind readers. They didn't know. We think they should have known. They didn't know. but not to allow that other person's cluelessness or meanness or inconsiderateness or actions or words to make us close our heart. Can we keep our heart open all the time? Because that is the key to divine connection. And if you can keep your heart open all the time in your marriage, then you have really allowed your marriage to be a yoga. You have really allowed your marriage to be a sadhana. You've really allowed it to be that path to God. Otherwise, it's just two people essentially trying to bully each other into doing what they want so that we can each find some modicum of happiness and peace. But to have our hearts open and walk together closer to God, that's what the point is. That's why it's called an ashram, Grihast ashram. Not Grihast war ground or battlefield, but ashram. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening tonight. We will be hopefully out in the garden tomorrow, and we got a late start tonight because Arati started late because of the rain. But from tomorrow, as we announced on the Ghat, Arati will be 5:45. So we should be able to be starting right by 7 o'clock, maybe even a few minutes earlier, depending on when Arati ends. So I look so forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. And so much love to you all.